welcome to another episode of Fantasy Reality. And today, we're going to talk about one of the favorite kinds of characters that people just love to hate. Evil Overlords. Specifically, those who are pragmatic and have standards. And are successful. Let's face it, you create a hero, you gotta create somebody that he's going to oppose. Let me double check something. And, as I was saying, you're gonna create somebody who's gonna oppose it. And that is the villain. And what better villain than an evil overlord? You know, he could be the king, the emperor, the tyrant, some pirate lord, or anything. You could just make him evil. But let's talk about it. And let's talk about if he's a real person. Because, let's face it, in real life, there are indeed certain people who are considered evil because of what they've done. Because, let's face it, not everybody in history is going to be a good person. Although most of us try to be as good as we possibly can. And sad to say, there are going to be people who, for one reason or another, there's just something seriously wrong with them. And there could be all sorts of reasons that even we can't quite understand. But, like I said, let's talk fantasy. Hopefully the noise of the neighbor isn't bothering anything. But, well, like I said, when you deal with a fantasy setting, odds are you could have your hero opposing some villain. And, yeah, you could make this guy just despicable, having him kick puppies. You know? Just kicking him over the fence because he's evil. Have him destroy towns because he doesn't like the color pink. And somebody there was wearing the color pink. Sad to say, buddy, but that kind of guy is going to create an instant rebellion no matter what. And his reign is usually not going to last real long, because sometimes even his soldiers and minions are just going to get sick of it. And it won't be too long before somebody... Of course, a smart villain, they obviously want to avoid somebody coming up from behind them and killing them. So, they gotta be pragmatic. And possibly have standards. For instance, that they come about, if there's in this city that they just conquered, let's say they hate the color pink, and there's somebody in the crowd wearing that color. I mean, if he was just now, if this guy was just the sort that, if he's just plain pure evil, who just does evil just be evil. Yeah. That guy with a pink shirt, he is going to be disintegrated or gone. Nothing. You know, he's probably in our villain. He's going to say, "I hate the color pink." But guess what? Next time he comes to that place, everybody and their mom is going to be carrying weapons, wearing armor, and wearing pink. And they're going to be holding banners that say, "Remember Pink Shirt Guy!" Now, a pragmatic villain, they would just simply walk up to the guy and get out some money and say, "Would you mind wearing a red shirt? I prefer that color." Next time he comes to the city, everybody and their mom is going to be wearing red. And they're going to be holding up a sign saying, "We love you, Mr. Evil Overlord." Regardless of whether or not they actually like the guy. But, like I said, just simply making a suggestion, could you wear a red shirt? One, the guy in the pink shirt, he's obviously going to live. And two, the people, they're not going to like the evil overlord because he's the evil overlord. But at the very least, they're not going to be up in arms over it. And it's always funny to make a red shirt joke now, isn't it? Now, and a very good, successful evil overlord in fantasy series that I've read would be Lord Vetinari, who is the patrician of the city of Ankh-Morpork in the Discworld series. And nobody likes him. And there's been more than a few attempts to get rid of him. But let's just say that even the Assassin's Guild, they've taken him off the registry. And the assassins, basically, you have to pay them a lot of money, and they go after guys who also have a lot of money, who can either defend themselves or hire the means to defend themselves. So the average person on the street, they're perfectly safe from the Assassin's Guild. It's beneath them to sully their blades on the commoner poor. It's beneath them. But someone who's rich, who's wealthy, can fight. Oh yeah. They are on the list of people that the assassins could go after. But it turns out that removing this person would cause the city to... The assassins, they will not. They will take that name, though. Do not take a contract out on this guy. That person, perfectly safe. And that includes Lord Vetinari. Because, like I said, nobody likes him, but because of him, the city runs. An example of this would be how he handled the thieves in the city. And what he simply did was, he invited the leaders of the biggest thieves of the gangs that did a whole lot of the steal, invited them to a big party. Sat down, some good food, some good wine, talking to them. It's like, "Listen, I'm going to set up a thieves guild for you guys." And then the thieves are like, "Really? Oh yeah, you'll be allowed to steal a certain amount from these people, but you'll be able to steal from everybody. And it's like, sounds interesting. We will think about it, Mr. Patrician. I'm sure you will. By the way, how's your wife doing? And how's your son doing? And how is your brother doing? You know, it's the kind of questions that you hear them, and you start thinking, you get terrified, and it's like, we understand what you're saying, sir. We shall indeed follow these rules you have laid down. Our guild will have no problems accepting these as part of our charter. And the way the Thieves Guild is, it's essentially like a protection racket, basically, where, well, a legalized protection racket where the average store owner, for instance, will give the Thieves Guild a certain amount of money, and should some unlicensed thief come in and rob the place, the Thieves Guild's gonna hunt down those guys and make an example of them. Because if anyone's going to be stealing in this city, it had better be a licensed member of the Thieves Guild. Mainly because they don't want to end up on the wrong side of Lord Vetinari. And another example of just how good Vetinari is how he handled the Clax issue. The Clax is basically, it's like a mixture of semaphore and Morse code, basically, you know. Like, I am sending a message all the way over to Quarm. I want to know when my shipment of prawns is coming in. Or, how much is prawns worth over there? You know. And, well, problem is the guys who are running the clacks, they were basically just running it to the ground. You know, they were making money, and, well, the people weren't happy. Now, Lord Reagan, he uses the clacks sometimes for personal, sometimes for business, sometimes to get information. And in this case, he's was simply, you know, playing a game of, well, let's call it chess. I mean, the actual game's called Thud. It's like chess. I mean, there's a bit more rules to it, of course. But suffice it to say, he's playing a game with another ruler. And he's not happy because the clacks were down for several days. So it's like, I can't send the information about my move over to this person. And now, if he was like your typical evil overlord, oh yeah, he would have arrested those guys, thrown them into the dungeon, and thrown away the key. No, melted the key down, and then turned it into a bunch of coins. No, he doesn't do that. Instead, he sets up a rival to the clacks by recruiting a certain conman named Moist von Litwig. And basically, this guy, he committed a great deal of fraud, like $100,000 worth of fraud, and apparently you commit that much fraud. Well, suffice to say, Albert Spangler, as the guy was known at the time, well, he was indeed hung. But then Moise von Lipwig wakes up in the patrician's office and is like, I'm not dead. No, you most certainly are not. By the way, I have a job for you, if you're interested. And appoints the guy to be the postmaster. And basically, it becomes such... The postal service becomes extremely effective because of how good this guy is at using emotion. And when he meets up with the person that's running the clacks, he just sees something that's even more despicable than he is, and basically, long story short, he sets things up so that way the evidence of the crimes that this guy has committed just come to light, and it's like, uh-oh. And, eventually, he gets arrested along with all the other conspirators. And it's quite, the way it was done is quite brilliant. And, let's see here, what else is there? Oh, and basically this guy, like I said, Lord Vetinari, he's smart, he talks to the common people. He figures out what it is that bothers them. Or, at the very least, he has ways of getting the information that's just as simple as, hello, how are you doing? Oh, you're saying that the taxes are way too high? Who's your tax collector? Oh, I might have to have a word with him, and so that way you don't have to pay so much. Oh, thank you, Lord Vetinari. You always have time to listen. Oh, I'll be as old as you someday, Mrs. Cake. By the way, here's $10. I wouldn't mind knowing what my fortune's going to be. Really? All that? Okay, I'll keep that in mind. And, well, like I said, he talks to the people, he finds out, because he's got eyes and ears everywhere, somehow. Might be mice. No, not mice, rats. He knows how to, he gets this information, and it's like, you have an appointment with the patrician. An appointment? Yes. But it's the middle of the night. Yes. I'm not even dressed. Get dressed. Okay. He's quite the fun. He's a fun one. And he's one of those guys you just love to hate. But he does his job. And because he's smart enough to realize I can't just go out, arrest these people, and just have them executed for displeasing. Well, what he does is he sets things up so he gets this information and settles the matter in such a way that everybody's like, alright, we're satisfied. We don't like you, but we're satisfied with your decision. And that would be the important thing for an evil overlord to consider. How satisfied are the people underneath him? For instance, let's say he's known for for charging high taxes. And the people, they complain about the taxes, but they're not rebelling. Now, let's say there's a severe drought, and despite the farmer's best efforts, there's very little food coming in. If he's smart, he's going to lower the taxes by a certain amount, so that way people, they're going to be like, well, it's nice of the Lord to lower the tax rate. At least now we can go and buy some food. Because if you overtax a bunch of starving peasants, they're not going to be happy. On the other hand, if you lower the taxes during a bad farming season, I mean, the people, they're not going to be, they're still not going to be happy, but they're not going to be so upset that they're going to think about rebelling. In fact, they'll be thankful or even grateful that the Lord lowered the tax rate, so that way they can at least afford to buy enough to eat. That's important. You keep these guys content, and you know, you're not gonna just send out your goons to just beat up people who make talk about you. No, you don't do that. Instead, you just send a couple of guys. You know, you might send a guy who, sits down in the tavern. It's like, so, I mean, the guy may not even be wearing a uniform or anything, or maybe he's just off duty. It's like, so, you having issues with the way the Lord's or anything? Oh yeah. You could tell me about it. I mean, this guy, he has his, what I call these, this, have the guards seem to, like, they're complaining, and then it's like, and if the person they're talking to comes out and talks about their issue, and if it turns out that the complaint is indeed a legitimate complaint, it's not impossible that the Overlord might say, okay, I can see how this is going to cause people to be upset. So he might change policies a little bit. So that way the majority of people are going to at least be content with his rules. They don't necessarily like him, but so long as they're not trying to preach rebellion or take up arms against him, and they pay their taxes and whatnot, well, guess what? Your evil overlord, he's going to be ruling, and yes, he's going to be flying his standards, those flags of his. On the other hand, standards, there's a bunch of definitions. I mean, there's the flags, there's even, like, rules that people hold themselves up to, it's like or even grade, and it's like, listen guys, you follow these rules, the people, they will not complain about us too much. And in fact, by simply having a certain amount of standards, and being pragmatic about certain things, odds are your evil overlord, he's going to be having a comfortable rule. I mean, maybe he's not going to be partying it up. In fact, that's a terrible idea. Don't go partying when your people are miserable. Don't do that. But if you set things up so that way the people are content with your rule, well, you're going to at least have a long time to rule. So, like I said, repeatedly, you're going to be a successful evil overlord, he's going to at least have to know. He's going to have to at least keep the people content. That is to say, content enough that the majority of them are not going to try to rebel against him. And if that means to seemingly be reasonable, if that means to be, that means that you guys going to need to be reasonable to he's going to need to be able to possibly change a few things, alter a couple of policy or two, maybe implement a policy or three, and he can learn to accommodate people to the point that they're going to be content with his rule. Like I said, he's going to be ruling a nice long time. Whereas on the other hand, if he just does evil just to be evil, kicks puppies and that sort of stuff, it's not going to last too long. Well, that's it for this episode of Fantasy Reality. Thank you.